Welcome to Canal-mania and the Shropshire Canals. We're in Shropshire, in the Midlands of England, close to Wales, in and around the modern new town of Telford and Shrewsbury. This fly-through differs from many of the others on this channel in that it covers 6 canals that form a distinct network that remained separate from the national network for most of its existence. The history of the network is complex, as this map shows. This video covers all of these canals in chronological order of their opening. To help understand it, it may be useful to consider Old Yards Junction, marked here with a star, as the central point. In fact, the junction has no major intrinsic significance, but it is a useful anchor point for these videos. We start with the Donnington Wood Canal. And here we are at Old Yards Junction. This canal is an early example. The original line was opened in 1768. It was built to connect coal mines at Donnington Wood with a turnpike road at Pave Lane. Later on, branches would be added to reach limestone quarries, as we shall see. There was extensive mining around Donnington Wood in the late 18th and early 19th centuries. The main line is mostly a contour canal, with no locks until the far reaches of the Pitchcroft branch. Many of these canals in the central core of the network were early examples, built for local purposes, and in the absence of others to follow or connect to, they were built to different standards than were adopted by later canals. Here at Hughes Bridge, an inclined plane gives access to the Lilleshall and Pitchcroft branches, built to reach limestone quarries. Here, the Pitchcroft branch required 7 locks to descend to the quarries. Traffic on these branches declined after 1844, when the Humber arm of the Shropshire Union Newport branch opened nearby, providing easier access to the national network. We shall see that later in this video. The Lilleshall limeworks closed in the 1870s, and the Pave Lane section of the canal followed in 1882. This canal was eventually abandoned in 1904. Back at Old Yards Junction, we shall follow the Wombridge Canal, which connected to the Donnington Wood in 1788. It was built to carry coal and iron ore from the mines around Wombridge to the Donnington Wood furnaces. This first section was later bought by the Shrewsbury Canal after they'd built the trench inclined plane, as we shall see. Teague's Bridge here is worth a mention because it is a very early example of an iron bridge. The canal continued to operate until 1919, when new furnaces were built, removing much of the canal's traffic. It was abandoned in 1921. Back again at Old Yards Junction, we shall now look at the Shropshire Canal, opened in 1792. We're going south and almost immediately find the Brockredine Wood inclined plane, opened in 1790, that lifts the canal 120 feet to its summit level. Not much further on, we will take a brief sideways look at the Ketley Canal. This is earlier, built in 1788, and completely disconnected, until the Shropshire was built in 1789. I have not shown the junction as it doesn't appear on any of the sources I have. Indeed, the entire line, as shown, is speculative, with only a few clear points and no LiDAR imagery due to the considerable amount of redevelopment in the area as Telford was developed from the 1960s. The Ketley was built to carry coal and ironstone to Ketley Works and had an early inclined plane, but that was closed along with the works in 1816. The rest of the canal was abandoned in the 1880s. Back on the main line, the next major features we see, or can't see, are Sneds Hill Tunnel and then Sturchley Tunnel. This stretch around Oakengates was the site of a major breach in the canal in 1855, flooding the adjacent railway tunnel and part of the town. This prompted the canal owners, by then the London and North Western Railway, to obtain an act authorising them to close the canal between Rockradine and Windmill Plains. This they achieved in 1858 and built a railway over much of the canal bed, and the railway opened in 1861. As part of this, the Sturchley Tunnel became a cutting. And now we come to the junction with the Horsehay branch, which we shall follow to Colebrook Dale, epicentre of the Industrial Revolution, established by Abraham Darby in 1709. Colebrook Dale is in the River Severn Valley. The canal was opened in 1792, and to reach it, originally there was a vertical boat lift 120 feet deep. This proved troublesome, and it was replaced in 1794 by an inclined tramway plane. Soon the entire branch was converted to a tramway. Back on the main line, we proceed to the south. And here we come to the Windmill inclined plane, which lowered the canal 126 feet in 600 yards. Finally, we find the Hay inclined plane, which lowered the canal 207 feet to the River Severn at Coalport. The Hay plane was used until 1894 and has since been restored as a monument. Originally there was a lock here into the river, but since tugboats were not suitable for river navigation, this was soon abandoned in favour of transshipment. The whole line to Coalport was very successful, paying dividends of up to 8% into the 1830s, and requiring an additional basin and wharves in the 1810s. However, it was moribund by 1912 and formally abandoned in 1944. Now let's look at the Shrewsbury Canal. It's 17 miles long, with 11 locks plus the trench inclined plane. We first return to the Wombridge Canal at the foot of the trench inclined plane. The Shrewsbury Canal bought the section between here and Old Yard Junction and then built the plane to connect to their route to Shrewsbury. It lowered the canal 75 feet and was powered by a locally built steam engine. It operated from 1794 to 1921. The canal was authorised in 1793. The initial engineer was Josiah Clowes, but he died during construction and was succeeded by the now more famous Thomas Telford, who at the time was the Shropshire County Surveyor. Soon we come to Wappensall Junction, built later in 1835 to join with the Shropshire Union Network. We'll return here to follow that line shortly. This canal was originally built to tugboat gauge, and the locks were built to accommodate 4 boats at a time. The locks on this stretch north of Wappensall were widened after the link to the Shropshire Union was completed to allow full-size narrowboats to reach Shrewsbury. One of Telford's early achievements on this canal was the Longton-on-Tern aqueduct, which we can see here, now standing isolated in a field. This was a replacement for the original stone aqueduct that failed due to flooding in 1795. It has a cast iron trough to hold the canal and is regarded as a prototype for the much more famous Pont Cysulty aqueduct on the Llangollen Canal. The trough sections were cast at the nearby Ketley Ironworks and erected in 1796. Telford, of course, became renowned for his engineering achievements, and the modern town is named after him, a rare honour for an engineer in Britain. The canal now enters a very rural landscape of Shropshire farming land. The canal was a commercial success for many years, primarily carrying coal to Shrewsbury. An interesting feature here is the Berwick Tunnel. At 970 yards long, it was the longest such tunnel in Britain at the time, and the first in the country to be equipped with a towpath, until 1819, when the towpath was removed. And so we arrive at the historic border town of Shrewsbury and the canal's terminus at the Castle Foregate Basin. In 1921, the canal's owners, by then the London, Midland and Scottish Railway, closed the basin to save replacing a swing bridge at its entrance. Canal trade continued to decline, and the last commercial traffic to the town was recorded in 1936. Now we return to Wappensall Junction to take the last leg of this network, travelling northeast via Newport to make the connection with the National Canal Network at Norbury Junction on the Shropshire Union Canal. This canal was opened in 1835 and was one of the last canals to be built in the country. It shows its Telford heritage by being straight-ish and, where possible, grouping locks together for efficient working. As we proceed, we will cross a number of aqueducts carrying the canal over some of the many small brooks and streams in the area. The first significant feature we see is the Humber branch, 1 mile long, built in 1844 to serve the industry around Illishall, and in the process offering a more convenient alternative to the extension of the Donnington Wood Canal, where we started this exploration. It was closed in 1922. And from here, the canal starts to climb up to Newport. After leaving Newport, we pass one isolated lock at Meretown, cross the last aqueduct, Forton Aqueduct, over the River Meese, and then start the long final flight of 17 locks up to the Shropshire Union. As we reach Norbury Junction, we are back in the land of the living canal. The top lock is still used as a dry dock, by the local boatyard and hire base. It's a busy spot, popular with boaters, and always seems bustling, belying its apparent remoteness. In 1943, total traffic on this branch was 100 tonnes. Consequently, all remaining parts of the entire network were closed by the London, Midland and Scottish Railway in 1944. Well, I hope you found this interesting. If you did, please leave a comment and, well, you know the drill. The Google Maps used to generate this fly-through are available for free at Canal-mania.com, where you can download your own copy to do with as you wish. Cheerio for now.